Hi, my name is Kevin Bonham, and this is a brief interlude video just to describe some things that I've sort of glossed over. It's not super essential, but could be useful. And that is the workspace that you're working with. So right now I've sort of cleared everything except for the default, and the first thing that I want to point out is that you may not have a sort of black screen here, depending on your version of Illustrator and depending on whether you've selected the application frame. So in Illustrator, if you don't have application frame selected, you can see here, you can see part of my desktop. Illustrator will go all the way across your screen, and then when you bring in toolbars, they'll just sit here. If you make new documents, they'll sort of just sit on your desktop. Oops, that one's full screen. And I need to try to shrink it somehow. You can probably tell you're not seeing my full monitor here, but so when you make a document, it just sort of hangs out here on its own, whereas if you have the application frame there, it'll lock up in a tab within that application frame. So I prefer having the application frame in the tabbed windows as opposed to separate ones, but you can make your own determination. The other thing is the various toolbars. I've mentioned a few of them. This is the Tools panel that I just pulled up. We've talked before in other videos about things like color, which has different panels, swatches. There are things like arrangement and pathfinder we've talked about in another video. So all of these tools can exist in Windows. You can put them in tabs here. So if I like pathfinder to be off on its own, I can pull that out. If I like my alignments to be in with my color stuff, I can add that to this group. So you basically have an infinite number of ways to organize the tools to your advantage, to pull up the ones that you want and to leave hidden the ones you don't use. And there's also a couple of default layouts that Illustrator gives you. So I have the Essentials. If you take that and reset the Essentials workspace, this is what it looks like. So it gives you just very few things over here, plus your tools, and this bar along the top, which can be quite useful. And that is called the control bar. And this will change depending on the tool you have selected. So you can see when I have the selection tool selected, it gives me things like color and stroke. But if I have, for instance, a object selected, now it gives me the transform panel, and it gives me a couple of other things. If I have a pen tool selected, it'll change to something different that relates to the pen tool. So that this control bar can be super useful. I've left it off thus far, but it can be super useful to find the tools that you need. They'll just appear as needed up there. The layout that I typically use is the workspace called Layout, and this has your normal toolbar, some color stuff, artboards, which we're going to talk about later, and some other things that are available here, like the Align tool. Although if you have multiple images or multiple objects selected, you'll see the Align tool pops up here as an option in your control bar if you have that. So I just wanted to do this so you could see how to set up a workspace, or if your workspace looks different, you can go here to Window and pick one of the default workspaces. If you find a workspace that you like, you have the tools that you want, you can also create a new one and have it saved for future projects. So hopefully that's helpful, and next up I'm going to just draw a sort of complicated cartoon using a bunch of the tools that we've talked about up until this point. So hope you'll watch that.